Finals against the Warriors. Well, Giannis, who go on Antetokounmpo, might have matched it last night with his rejection on DeAndre Ayton, formerly Eaton. Late in the fourth quarter, his teammate Pat Connaughton said, quote, "It's the best block of all time." Now, obviously, we're a little biased, and you can talk about the LeBron block as well. Close, quote, but sell. Is it crazy to compare Giannis's block with LeBron James?
No. It's the only one I can compare it to. What I'm going to do, go find the Dikembe Mutombo news when he had 8 blocks against Seattle back in, what, 1994? Like, out in the world of blocks, sorry, no one gives a damn about blocks really like that. Where else will you go other than LeBron James's block in the 2016 NBA Finals? Now, which one works better? In terms of athleticism, from my pro-athlete lens, Giannis won. Now, in terms of impact and, oh, my God, is LeBron doing it and blah, 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 you can kind of start to make an argument. To me, that was the best block I've ever seen in a world of blocks that no one gives a damn about.
Let's do this because we are athletes on a show without a moderator. From an athleticism perspective, Giannis's block was definitely more athletic. Having to turn around, reverse pivot, didn't even know where the ball was, track it in the air and block it. Way more impressive athletically off a foot.
Even gather.
LeBron calculated the whole thing, and Iggy never saw him. That's the difference.
Yeah.
Now, LeBron's block was more meaningful. It was a Game 7 as opposed to a Game 4. Right. LeBron's block in narrative form tied 89-89 as opposed to the Bucks were up 101 to the Suns 99. So LeBron's block was more meaningful, but level of difficulty has to go to Giannis. Athleticism has to go to Giannis. But Bron's was just more calculated. And I think because he's LeBron James.
Yeah. Look, I'm not taking anything away from what LeBron James did. But there was a part of you that could see that coming if you had the right vantage point. Like, oh, Iggy, you better look at... Golly, he got him. And LeBron was known for doing that, trailing the play, setting you up. And LeBron is smart because most athletes think I'm going to block the ball. LeBron's like, I'm going to block where the ball is going. So when you're doing your layup, most guys are like, I'm trying to go to the ball. LeBron's like, no, I know where the ball has to go, and I know when it's not goaltending. He meets you at that spot. That's a smart play.
The most brilliant thing, because I've watched the LeBron block several times because I'm obsessed with the way he plays the game, he went up with both hands. And the interviewer asked him, hey, why'd you go up with both hands? He said, because Iggy's done a reverse before. And he was like, if he tried to reverse on the other side, I was going to block it on the left side with my left hand. If he stayed on the right side, I was going to block it on the right side with my right hand.
That's the beauty of practice and seeing things coming, knowing your opponent, etc. Because you get to anticipate. It's not about guesswork. It's about anticipating all the variables and knowing which one you're going to respond to. Quick one. Say Giannis's last name again.
It depends. Greek, Antetokounmpo. Nigerian, Adetumbo.
Golly, because Malika Andrews was killing it last night, but you got her with that one. One more time? I'm out. I just say Giannis. Coming up, Devin Booker dropped 42 last night, but
only had 10 points, which is his lowest output since the first round. He also added 5 turnovers. After the game, he put part of the blame on himself, calling it, quote, bad decision making. Well, you got a good decision, bringing in Slick Rick. But Marcellus, how much of the Suns' loss falls on Chris Paul?
Oh, man. A ton. I don't want to say all of it because obviously he's not the only player out there, but Chris Paul was not Chris Paul. Damn. It was one of those damn games. You want to throw it away, you know. Actually, it was more than that. It was more. You ever seen Good Times, Acho? There you go. Oh, you got a voice, too. One of them Florida Evan. Damn games for Chris Paul. What the hell was Chris Paul doing? Your take yesterday, even though I was pushing back, it was an excellent take because it came to life, to fruition, right before our very eyes. And what we saw before our very eyes was Chris Paul not prepared for that moment in the waning part of this game. I hate to say it, but I've been there before, and Chris Paul has been there before. I call him Mr. Timely Turnover because as a Clipper fan and him as a former Clipper, there's been times where Chris Paul will give you the timely turnover. But it's only timely because it helps the other team, not our team. And this, once again, reminds me of those moments. Let's talk about Chris Paul, who was trying to do too much in that situation. People, when you don't get touched and you fall down, let me tell you what's happening, what's really at play. Your mind and your body are out of sync. Forget keeping your eyes on the prize. Keep your essence in the moment. And when you get ahead of yourself, when you start saying, oh, I'm about to do this, we're about to go up 3-1, I'm about to make the game-winning shot, whenever your mind leaves you and departs you and where you are in that moment, in the present, you know what happens? Things like this, unforced errors. You trip on your own self. You actually trip on your own thoughts because you're just too eager for that moment. Hate to see it happen to a veteran, but I've seen it happen time and time again, and unfortunately, more than once with Chris Paul. So I got to put a ton on Chris Paul's shoulders. Damn, Chris Paul, or as Florida Evans would say, damn.
I got to take it a step further. How much of the loss? All of the loss, all of the loss. It all falls on CP3. Big-time players make big-time plays in big-time games. Chris Paul, you are the one that is supposed to be the top 5 player at your position of all time. Chris Paul, you are the one that is supposed to be the first ballot Hall of Famer. Chris Paul, you are the one that many refer to as the point god, if you will. So, Chris Paul, in this pivotal moment, it's time for you to be pivotal. Devin Booker made more shots with his left hand than Chris Paul made with both hands. Let's be real now. Chris Paul, 15 turnovers over the last 3 games. That is the most turnovers over a 3-game stretch since 2018. You are too good to play that bad. You chose a bad game to have a bad game. Chris Paul is the fearless leader of this team. The team goes how he goes. Can't have more turnovers, Chris Paul, in 5 than the Bucks had collectively as a team in 5. The same amount, that is. So who's to blame for the loss? I understand there are 5 people on a team on a court at one time, but Chris Paul as one individual was undermining the work of the other 4 congruently. It's Chris Paul's fault they lost, but he's also been the reason that they've won several games. So let's put everything in context. Last thing I got to say is this, because I'm not saving it for my second lap. I told y'all, Chris Paul usually physically deteriorates. Well, now statistically, he's deteriorating. Closeout game against the Clippers, 41 points. Game 1, NBA Finals, 32 points. Game 2, NBA Finals, 23 points. Game 3, NBA Finals, 19 points. Game 4, NBA Finals, 10 points. Every game that passes, Chris Paul gets worse. Chris Paul's fault.
Marcellus, I'm going to assume that you didn't ask me if I'd seen Good Times, only because you know that I'm old enough to have watched Good Times.
It wasn't based on your
That's
color.
the only reason, right? You just needed to check because Acho is exactly of a younger generation. I want to make that clear. Look, I don't know the difference between a ton and all, but whatever it is, I'm going to add it because for me, it's all on Chris Paul. And I say that as a compliment. The reason that the Suns are in the finals is because of Chris Paul. The reason that they took a 2-0 series lead in this series against the Bucks is because of Chris Paul. And whatever happens is going to happen because of Chris Paul. He is the one guy who can score and create plays for others. I know we had those 2 games early on against the Clips where Cam Payne went absolutely bonkers, and the Clippers were still trying to sort out how they were going to play, and they didn't have a scouting report on Cam. He shocked them. But Cam Payne hasn't been able to give them that since. And the reality is that Chris Paul, as I've said many a time, doesn't just get his, he gets it for others. And there's no accident that DeAndre Ayton has struggled since Chris Paul has struggled. Even when it comes down to the block that Giannis made on DeAndre Ayton, I dare say that if that wasn't Devin Booker delivering that pass and it was Chris Paul, Giannis Antetokounmpo wouldn't have had the opportunity to get back and make that play. If you watch the play, it's a little wide, it's a little late. Chris Paul is the king of throwing that lob. And because it was a little late,